Discover 6 hidden Stoic disciplines that transform your mind, time, and life forever. In the dim light of a cluttered garage, Jack sat at his father's old desk, the scent of motor oil and gasoline thick in the air. He was buried under piles of overdue invoices, the weight of unpaid bills pressing heavily on his heart. With each blink, the reality of life without his father hit him harder. His father had built this workshop from the ground up, teaching Jack the value of hard work and loyalty to their community. Now, at 38, he found himself struggling not just to keep the workshop's doors open, but to be both a father and a son. His 2 kids, Lily and Max, played quietly in the shadowy corners, oblivious to the looming threats of bills and a new shopping mall that could wipe out small businesses like his. The love he felt for them was a fierce fire against the cold uncertainty creeping into his life. One evening, the flicker of his desk lamp caught an old book, dusty and forgotten. Its title popped out, Stoic Philosophy. Intrigued, Jack pulled it from its resting place, flipping through the fragile pages. It spoke of self-control and courage, reminding him of his father's stoic approach to life. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes as memories flooded back his dad, steady and calm during the storm of everyday life. The old aphorisms twisted something deep within him, igniting a flicker of hope. "You are your own biggest obstacle," one page read. Had he been standing in his own way? Jack's mind raced as he began applying these teachings. He was resolute. He would not only save his business but protect his community. Yet the lure of expansion dangled before him like a shining trophy. He pictured a bustling workshop, but the ghost of his father reminded him, was it worth sacrificing the bonds with neighbors he cherished? In his gut, he felt the stirrings of doubt. Tensions rose, marking a rift with his estranged brother, Ben, who had left their tiny town in search of fame. Ben sent Jack shiny postcards from Hollywood, painting a picture of success that felt hollow. Was that what Jack wanted? Wealth and applause, or love and belonging? Jack struggled to hold on to his values amidst the noise of ambition, spiraling toward a path he never intended to tread. The town hall meeting loomed like an impending storm. It was the moment to address the chaos in the community. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, nerves a whirlwind. Voices wrestled with the air, discontent and frustration bubbling. With each name called, he stilled. Finally, his hand shot up. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Trembling yet resolved, Jack stood. "We are more than just businesses fighting for survival," he said, voice steadying. Silence fell over the room, eyes wide, hearts aligned. He felt the warmth of community wash over him, the shared dream of survival pressing at his back. This moment, raw and electric, opened his eyes. Jack realized it was time for reconnection, to mend relationships, including the one with Ben. Could he stand against the allure of personal gain and find strength in unity? The crowd leaned in, waiting for him to choose a move toward reconciliation or further isolation. Jack drew a shaky breath, knowing that the choice ahead could redefine everything. What path would he take, one of isolation or one of compassion? Jack's heart raced, a furious drumbeat echoing in his ears as the weight of the crowd's expectations settled on him. He could feel the anxious energy pulsing around the hall, neighbors sharing glances, old friends quietly urging him on. The stakes couldn't be higher. It wasn't just about the workshop, it was about everything they'd built together, the bonds that shaped their small town, and the promise of brighter days. He took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of strength. "We have to remember, what we share is worth fighting for," he said, voice rising to carry over the murmurs. "We are not just names on a list of businesses. We are fathers, mothers, friends, families working hard to build a future." The words felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. A hand shot up in the back. It was Mrs. Dawson from the bakery, her face a mix of concern and hope. "But what can we do, Jack? They just keep pushing us." That was the question. The path ahead was a tangle of uncertainty, but Jack's eyes swept over the familiar faces. They had confronted tougher times, from the floods that nearly washed away the festival to the winter storms that threatened their homes. Together, we can stand against it, he urged. Let's form a coalition. We can organize events to support each other, share resources. We can thrive, not just survive. His voice rang out, fueled by passion. The tension in the room shifted, a spark ignited. Jack's heart soared as he caught glimpses of determination on their faces. People began nodding, murmurs of agreement cascading through the crowd. We can organize a community fair, called out another voice. Showcase our crafts and services. Share our stories. The idea took root, spreading like wildflowers across a sunlit field. As the meeting flowed with renewed energy, Jack felt a warmth spreading through him. It was like reconnecting to the very essence of what his father had taught him: community mattered, resilience mattered. They were not alone. Just then, a sharp voice cut through the hopeful murmur. And what about the money? How do we compete with them all? A common-sense thriller hung in the air, and Jack's heart sank. Listen, he said, trying to regain the forward momentum. It's not just about competing, it's about declaring who we are. We sell more than products, we sell the heart and soul of this town. We have stories that resonate, and together we can make them heard. A powerful silence followed. Then, like rolling thunder, applause rippled throughout the hall. Lily and Max, sitting quietly up front, exchanged thrilled glances as their father's words painted visions of unity and hope. Yet doubts lurked. The rift with Ben gnawed at the edges of Jack's thoughts. What would he think of this? Would he see the same value in a workshop built on relationships, or would he scoff from his glamorous life? Jack's stomach churned, the anxiety of their disconnect mixing with the hope that pulsed through the crowd. As the meeting wrapped up, Jack watched as people shook hands, laughter mingling with determination. It felt like new beginnings brewing on the horizon, but in the back of his mind, that nagging concern thrummed on. Could he truly bridge the widening chasm with Ben? With a renewed sense of purpose, Jack stepped away from the crowd, his breath steadying. What can I do about Ben? It was a whisper to himself, a question that loomed larger than life. As the evening light faded, Jack pondered the complexity of family ties, uncertain of which step to take next. The road to reconciliation felt just as daunting as saving his business, yet he knew one thing: it was a road he had to travel. Could he find the courage to reconnect, or would the distance with his brother threaten the new dreams he'd begun to weave for his family and community? Jack stepped out of the town hall into the crisp evening air, a world of possibility pressing against his chest. The stars began to twinkle, a canvas of hope hanging overhead. Yet, despite the excitement from the meeting, shadows danced in his thoughts. The image of his brother, Ben, loomed heavily. Sinking onto a bench by the entrance, Jack stared at the streetlights flickering on, illuminating the quiet town. He closed his eyes, envisioning the days spent as kids, running down these very sidewalks, dreaming up big adventures. Those memories felt like a distant echo now, swallowed by the weight of adult choices. Dad would know what to do, he murmured, but his father was gone, and ghosts couldn't answer questions about how to mend a wounded bond. His phone buzzed in his pocket, pulling him from his reverie. He glanced at the screen. A text from Lily. What's the plan for tomorrow, Dad? Can we do some more work on the fair? A smile tugged at his lips. Yes. Absolutely. He typed, fingers flying across the screen. He hit send and felt a warmth radiate from the thought of his kids rallying together. They were his strength, pulling him through, but just as he started to feel buoyant again, another message came through, this time from Ben. You really think that community fair is gonna make a difference? Or is it just a way to play the martyr? Jack's heart sank. Clenching his jaw, he took a deep breath, resisting the urge to fire back. Deep down, he knew Ben was angry at him, angry at the situation. But instead of viewing what Jack was trying to do as positive, he saw weakness. The rift widened again, palpable and heavy in the air. He thumbed a response. I get that you don't see the value, Ben. But this is about more than just sales. He hesitated, wondering if it even mattered. Did Ben care to hear his reasons? The same man who had seemingly traded their shared history for sleek suits and a busy city life, Jack took another deep breath, remembering Mrs. Dawson's hopeful eyes. "I'll call you tomorrow. We need to talk," he finished the message with resolve. As he sat there, a small group of children passed by, giggling and chasing one another. Two of them were likely Lily and Max's friends, caught up in their carefree sense of adventure. They didn't worry about business or competition, just laughter filling the air. The innocence of their joy tugged at him, forcing a smile. Then it hit him: Lily and Max were growing up in a community that mattered to him. For their sake, the town needed to thrive, and he wouldn't shy away from building that future. He just needed to figure out how to reconcile that future with his present relationship with Ben. With renewed determination, Jack stood up, brushing off his jeans. He wouldn't let the past dictate the future. Tomorrow brought another chance to forge connections, to rekindle hope. He could reach out to Ben, fight for understanding, and maybe, just maybe, help him see what he was trying to do for their community. As he made his way home, under the blanket of stars, Jack knew he had to prepare for the conversation with Ben. Could he bring his brother back to the fold? Or was he simply fighting an uphill battle against ideals that both of them had come to believe? The answers loomed like shadows in the night. But he held on to a flicker of hope, and that flicker was enough to keep moving forward. If only he could find the right words to mend their brotherhood, would his efforts matter? The morning sun broke through the horizon, casting golden rays over the sleepy town. Jack squinted against the light as he sipped his coffee, the familiar warmth filling his hands with comfort. He leaned back against the kitchen counter, listening to the sounds of Lily and Max arguing playfully in the living room over who would get to pick the music for their morning chores. Their laughter was infectious, wrapping around him like a cozy blanket, momentarily pushing away the heavy weight of his worries. Today was the day he would confront Ben. The conversation that had been lurking in the shadows needed to come into the light. Jack hardly slept the night before, going over how to phrase his thoughts, wanting desperately to reach his brother without triggering more resentment. The clock ticking in the background reminded him of the urgency. He wasn't just fighting for his brother's understanding, he was fighting for their family. "Dad, can we have pancakes?" Max's voice broke him from his thoughts. "Sure, buddy. Just give me a second." Jack moved towards the pantry, pulling out the ingredients. With each scoop of flour, he reminded himself of the bonds he was trying to strengthen, both with his children and with Ben. Minutes later, with plates piled high, the three of them sat around the kitchen table. Lily picked up her fork and looked at Jack, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Are we really going to get that fare ready? I can't wait to see everyone." Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "Absolutely. Everyone's counting on us." Just as the conversation evolved into excited chatter about games and booths, Jack's phone buzzed again. The screen lit up. Ben had messaged him. "When are we meeting?" Jack's stomach knotted. He glanced at his kids. They were lost in their own world, joy spilling over like syrup on their pancakes. Despite the tension brewing, he couldn't help but smile. The fair was more than just a project to him, it was a chance for community. His children's laughter was tied to that vision. "Can we make it today after lunch?" Jack typed back, heart racing at the thought of the impending conversation. It felt both terrifying and liberating. "Fine. I'll be there," came Ben's curt response. After breakfast, Jack took a moment outside in the growing warmth. Letting the sun wash over him, he practiced what he would say. Words tumbled through his mind, but they felt jumbled and chaotic. He needed clarity. "I want to repair this," he whispered aloud, willing the universe to guide him as he faced Ben. He thought back to their childhood, how they would get each other through tough times. But those memories fought against the tension of their present reality, a painful disruption in what had been once so naturally connected. Eventually, the afternoon rolled in, and Jack found himself pacing in their family home, trying to form coherent thoughts. Each tick of the clock drew him nearer to Ben's arrival, and yet he felt the weight of doubt pressing harder. What if he couldn't break through? What if today ended up like so many other thinly veiled conversations where they exchanged barbs disguised as words of concern? Pacing back into the living room, he caught a glimpse of Lily's drawing pinned to the fridge, a colorful fair, bustling with happy faces. Inspiration bubbled within him again. A knock shattered the uneasy stillness. Jack's breath caught in his throat. It was time. Would honesty and vulnerability chip away at the wall his brother had built? He opened the door to face Ben, determination setting his jaw. "Hey," Jack began, his voice quieter than intended. "Let us just get this over with," Ben replied, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Curiosity? Resignation? Jack took a deep breath. "I think we need to start by understanding why we're so far apart," but before he could continue, Ben cut him off. "Why bother, Jack? You won't change my mind." Jack felt his stomach drop. How could he bridge this gap if Ben wasn't willing to talk? He stole a glance back at the drawing on the fridge. If only the colors represented the feelings they used to share. With a renewed sense of urgency, Jack stepped closer, ready to fight for what mattered most, when suddenly, he saw a shadow behind Ben that made his heart race in a different way. "Wait, Ben, is that who I think it is?" Ben turned, his expression shifting from defiance to disbelief. The moment hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Jack felt his heart pound. What had he walked into now? The figure behind Ben stepped into the light, and Jack's breath hitched in his throat. It was Sarah, their sister, the one they had lost touch with years ago after the fallout that scattered their family like autumn leaves. She had once been their glue, the laughter in their home, but life had pulled them all in different directions. "Sarah?" Jack's voice cracked, disbelief washing over him. Memories surged in a vivid wave, the three of them in the backyard, building forts, sharing secrets like it was the most important thing in the world. "Hi, Jack," she said, her voice soft yet laden with emotion. The sight of her felt surreal, like a long-cherished dream dropped into reality. Ben stepped aside reluctantly, a mixture of anger and confusion flickering in his eyes. "I didn't want you to find out like this, Jack. Why didn't you tell me she was back?" Jack turned sharply to Ben, his heart racing. "We could have done this together. I thought it was better if you didn't." Ben's voice trailed off, and the tension spiraled even more. Jack's thoughts were a chaotic mix of joy and frustration. They had all lost so much time, yet here stood Sarah, just a few feet away. "Can we talk?" Sarah asked gently, breaking through the suffocating silence that had settled between the brothers. Her gaze flickered between them, brimming with an understanding that only a sibling could possess. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of this moment. He stepped back, allowing Sarah to bridge the emotional gap that had existed for far too long. "I've missed you both," she said, her voice growing stronger. "It's hard to put into words how much I've wanted to reach out. But everything felt broken and I didn't want to make it worse." "We've all been struggling, Sarah," Jack admitted, his heart pounding harder now. "We're here, fighting against the walls between us." Ben's expression softened. "I thought it was better to stay estranged than to keep going in circles." "You don't have to carry that burden anymore," Sarah replied, her eyes shining with tears. "I came back hoping we could find a way back to each other. The ferret feels like a good start." Jack felt a rush of hope flicker inside him. "We can do this together. We can rebuild our family, one step at a time. But we all need to be willing to open up." There was a pause, a moment where the air felt charged, as if they were on the edge of a turning point. Ben's body language shifted, a barely noticeable softening as he glanced at Sarah, then Jack. "Maybe I've been too stubborn," he murmured, uncertainty creeping into his voice. "For once, I'm willing to listen." Sarah moved closer to Ben, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We deserve this chance. Let us write our new story, starting today." Jack joined them, his heart swelling with the warmth of rekindled connections. They were standing on the precipice of a new beginning. But as the moment lingered, a shadow of doubt crept back. Was it too late for them to heal old wounds? Would the fair really provide the foundation they needed to rebuild their fractured bonds? "Are we truly ready for this?" Jack asked softly, seeking reassurance. He could see in Ben's eyes a flicker of determination, and in Sarah's a cautious longing for change. The uncertainty hung unmistakably in the air, but within it was also a sense of purpose. "Let us find out," Ben replied, a hint of optimism piercing through the tension. As they took a step forward, Jack felt the weight of the past behind him and the light of possibility ahead. Would they manage to forge a path together, despite the fears that had held them back for so long? The moment was fragile, and Jack knew they had to move quickly before doubt could settle in again. But he was ready, and he hoped his brother and sister would be, too. "Let us go plan that fair," he said, a brighter note igniting hope in his voice, even as he felt the lingering uncertainty. As they turned to leave, another thought flashed through Jack's mind: what other surprises awaited them as they stepped into this new chapter? As they stepped away from the somber whisper of their past, Jack felt the charged pulse of the air around them, a mixture of trepidation and hope. Each footfall on the pavement echoed the realities of their family's history, the years lost, the laughter faded, and the silence that had become too familiar. "Where should we start?" Sarah asked, glancing from Jack to Ben, her eyes sparkling with the excitement of possibilities. Jack inhaled deeply, gathering his thoughts. "The fair needs planning, right? We could set up a booth to reach out to everyone in the community, share stories, reconnect." He could feel it, the vibrant energy of a shared dream starting to bloom. "Are you sure the fair is the right avenue?" Ben's voice steered the conversation cautiously. "What if people remember the fallout? What if it only amplifies the awkwardness?" "With every leap forward, there's risk," Jack said, swirling with a mixture of frustration and hope. "But isn't that how families heal? By exposing the seams and stitching them back together? We can't keep running away." Ben rubbed the back of his neck, and Jack could see him wrestling with the familiar inner turmoil, a battle between the comfort of safety and the need for connection. Sarah stepped closer to him, a gentle smile urging him to open up. "Let us embrace it," she encouraged, her voice like a beacon of light. "We've all changed. The fair could be a celebration of us, all of us, not just what's broken. It can unify our story." Jack saw a flicker of understanding in Ben's face, as if he were opening a box long tucked away. "Maybe you're right. We could create something that reflects who we've become, something positive." He nodded, a newfound determination lighting his own features. "We can include activities for kids, maybe games or contests that remind everyone of what makes us family, like the three-legged race we used to do." The mention of shared memories thawed a little of the tension that lingered as they continued walking, the weight of conversations turning into laughter. "Remember when we almost knocked each other over trying to win?" Sarah chuckled, her laughter bubbling up like water breaking through a dam. "And you, Jack, you cried because you didn't want to lose?" "Hey! I was just passionate, all right?" Jack replied, his tone playful. But inwardly, he felt the richness of that moment, the way they clamored together, a whirlwind of youth and joy. It felt like a promise of what could still be. "Passion is good," Ben offered, a reluctant smile breaking through. "Maybe we can tap into that. Let us create something that fuels us." Jack grinned, sensing that even small steps bore the monumental potential of reconnecting, of reigniting a bond that could withstand even the fiercest storms. "Let us not just plan the fair," he said, his voice steady with resolution. "Let us find ways to express what we've learned, what we've gained, and maybe even what we've lost." "Like a message board?" Sarah suggested. "What if we invite people to share their stories? To say what they miss, what they want to rebuild?" Her idea hung in the air like a sparkling thread, connecting them. The prospect brought warmth as they kicked off new plans, throwing out suggestions like fireflies lighting the evening sky. As they mapped out their ideas beneath the dusky glow of the streetlights, a faint chime from a nearby cafe tugged at Jack's thoughts. Would people truly be willing to peel back their layers? Did they even trust each other enough to be vulnerable again? This newfound excitement simmered alongside uncertainty. As they finalized plans, they fell into heavier content, every laugh reminding them of what they could build together. But just as hope soared, Jack felt that creeping anxiety settle deep in his chest. Could they really pull this off? Are we ready to face the world together? He whispered, surprise at the raw emotion creeping into his voice. The night's stillness enveloped them, holding space for the answer. The weight of all it meant pressed against their shoulders but also filled him with an urgent determination. What awaited them in their attempt? And as they began to break apart with their own thoughts, one question hung unanswered in the air: what if the fair unveiled more than they bargained for? The following days were a whirlwind of conversation and plans. The coffee shop became their headquarters, a hub alive with ideas and laughter. Jack, Sarah, and Ben spent hours brainstorming, sketching out designs for flyers, and discussing activities. Every moment felt charged, as if they were on the brink of something monumental. "Okay, let us think about food," Sarah exclaimed one afternoon, her hands animated as she paced the small cafe table. "What if we set up a potluck? Everyone can bring their favorite dish. It'll be communal and, delicious." Jack leaned back in his chair, impressed by the enthusiasm. "That's perfect. Food brings people together." Ben scribbled notes, looking more engaged than ever. "And we could have a photo booth too. Capture those little moments, memories being made all over again." They snapped ideas back and forth, each suggestion strengthening their resolve. Yet, beneath the laughter, Jack still felt that familiar pang of worry. Was it truly time to confront their family's history? He wondered if everyone else was ready for that as well. As the fair day approached, whispers spread through the community. Jack caught snippets of conversations in the cafe, little murmurs of excitement, and occasional hesitations. Some were eager to reconnect, while others eyed the fair with skepticism, reminding each other of the past, the secrets the family had buried. Jack knew the risks but felt more fortified by Sarah and Ben's commitment. After all, every festival starts with a leap of faith. It was a chance to reach out, and he wasn't willing to let fear stop them. The night before the fair, Jack lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His heart raced as anxiety wrapped around him like a thick fog. What if this opened old wounds? He sat up, glancing at the clock. Midnight. Outside, he could hear the distant murmur of the night cars passing, the wind rustling through the trees. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, a feeling that something was about to change. "Hey!" A soft knock on the door broke through his thoughts. It was Sarah, concern blending with her usual brightness. "Can I come in?" "Of course." She stepped inside, brushing loose strands of hair behind her ears, her eyes sparkling even in the dim light. "I couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind. Thought I'd check on you." Jack smiled, grateful for her presence. "You too, huh? Just can't shake the nerves?" "Exactly. But what if it goes well?" she ventured. "What if this fair is the start we've all needed?" "I keep thinking about how many people in our community might come together," he replied. "What if they bring their own stories, and we all start to heal?" Sarah sat down at the edge of his bed, a soft smile breaking through her worry. "We've been through so much, Jack. Maybe this is our chance to make something beautiful out of the mess." Her words echoed in his heart, make something beautiful. Together, they held a hope too fragile to speak aloud, but too powerful to ignore. As they talked late into the night, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose blossom within him, the kind that ignites with shared dreams. They embraced the uncertainty, wrapping it in possibility and trust. "Whatever happens tomorrow, we'll face it together," he promised softly. "Together," Sarah echoed, and for a moment, everything felt right. But the next day, as they set up booths and attracted curious faces filled with both excitement and skepticism, Jack noticed an uneasy tension creeping in. From among the crowd, an unexpected figure approached, a face well known, yet marred by shadows of the past. Jack's heart sank as he recognized the man who once held so much power over their family. The question surged within him, had they truly opened the door to healing, or were they stepping into a storm? As the fair buzzed with laughter and conversations, could the presence of this unfamiliar past threaten the fragile hope they had built? The fair felt electric, a celebration of laughter and the warmth of community mixed with the heavy undercurrents of unspoken memories. Jack stood frozen for a moment, watching the figure draw closer. The man, tall and broad-shouldered, looked much like Jack remembered but held more years and burdens in his eyes. It was Mr. Thompson, a ghost from their past, the man who had once led the family legacy with iron-fisted control. "What's he doing here?" Jack whispered, half to himself, half to Sarah, whose gaze darted toward the approaching figure. "I don't know," Sarah replied, her voice laced with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "But we have to stay focused." A few yards away, Ben was busily arranging chairs, oblivious to the storm brewing in Jack's chest. The vibrant buzz of the fair hummed around them, children running with cotton candy, neighbors catching up over homemade pies, and music dancing in the air. But Jack felt none of that joy. The crowd felt constricting, as if it was tightening around him, suffocating the very hope they fought to build. Mr. Thompson was now within earshot, his broad smile contrasting sharply with Jack's internal turmoil. "Isn't it nice to see so many familiar faces?" he boomed, his voice loud enough to carry across the fairgrounds. "The community really hasn't lost its spirit." Jack clenched his fists, wishing he could shrink back into the crowd. He and Sarah exchanged worried glances, a silent agreement passing between them. They could not let the past's shadows dim their light tonight. "Jack," Sarah said, her tone low but urgent. "We should talk to him. Open up the dialogue, see where he stands." The words hung heavy in the air, and Jack felt the weight of them. It would be easier to turn away, to pretend he didn't care. But deep down, he knew avoidance wouldn't heal what lay beneath the surface. "Okay," he finally responded, swallowing hard. "Let's do it." As they approached Mr. Thompson, Jack's heart pounded in sync with the rhythm of his footsteps. He was terrified. What if he unleashed a flood of anger and resentment? What if this fair, this moment they had all fought for, became a battleground instead of a sanctuary? "Mr. Thompson," Sarah called, her voice steady even as Jack felt like a novice tightrope walker. "We were hoping to speak with you." The man turned, his smile fading slightly as he processed their presence. "Sarah, Jack," he acknowledged, feigning interest. "What a lovely event you've organized here. Quite the turnout." Jack observed the glint in Thompson's eye, a mingling of pride and something else, something deeper. "It's a community fair," he said, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "It's about everyone coming together. Past and present held under one roof." "Exactly," Thompson exclaimed, his enthusiasm seemingly genuine. "That's the beauty of gatherings like this. They can heal." A sliver of hope ignited in Jack's chest, but it flickered precariously. "Healing? Is that what you want, Mr. Thompson?" he asked, feeling a flood of anger rise. "Or is this just nostalgia for you?" There was a pause, and Jack held his breath as the crowd moved around them, laughter echoing while shadows played across the three figures. Thompson's expression shifted, possibly reconsidering his impact on their lives, on their family's legacy. "I hope for the best, Jack. You know the past wants to stay alive. But perhaps some conversations can lead us toward a better future," he replied, almost cautiously. Jack exchanged a glance with Sarah. What was he implying? Just then, a cheer erupted from a nearby booth, drawing people's attention. The moment hung between them, teasing the uncertain bridges they could build or the chasms they could plunge into. The air was rife with the smell of hot food and fresh desserts, laughter ringing like an echoing promise, yet uncertainty loomed over Jack's heart. Would they finally confront the pain of the past, or would they allow it to push them apart once more? With a determined spark in his eyes, Jack broke off from the uncomfortable exchange. "Let us find Ben," he said, grasping Sarah's hand. "We need to refocus. This fair is our moment." But as they turned to leave, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed within Thompson, a glimmer of vulnerability behind the facade. Would they soon find out if this encounter was a turning point or just a pawn in the game of the past? As they walked away, laughter fading into a muted flap of uncertainty, Jack couldn't help but wonder what the next moment might unravel. Would truth lead to healing or further divide them? What lay ahead was still cloaked in shadows, but one thing was clear: their journey was just beginning. As Jack and Sarah navigated through the thrumming crowd, the vibrant atmosphere now felt like an uphill battle against invisible weights pressing on their shoulders. The laughter and clinking of glasses from the nearby food stalls seemed to mock the tension in their hearts. Jack squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, cherishing the connection, a small lifeline in a sea of uncertainty. "Jack, are you okay?" Sarah asked softly, her eyes searching his face. He exhaled slowly, his brow furrowing. I didn't expect to see him. Not here. Not now. We can't let this ruin everything we've built." "I know. But maybe this is what we need to face it head on," she replied. If there's any chance of healing, it starts with us. Right. The word came out heavy, laden with unspoken fears. Jack wanted to believe it, but the scars of their past felt too raw, too present. He had spent years trying to bury that part of himself, and now it was clawing its way back to the surface. As they approached the booth where Ben was arranging colorful balloons, Jack noticed a group of children laughing as they chased one another, carefree and innocent. He longed for that simplicity, and for a moment, he allowed the warmth of their laughter to seep into him. Look, there's Ben. Sarah pointed, redirecting Jack's focus. Ben looked up, his face lighting up. Hey! You found me. How's it going? He beamed, completely unaware of the emotional storm brewing between Jack and Sarah. It's good. Sarah replied, forcing a smile. Just busy. Have you seen the pie-eating contest yet? Not yet, but I'll be the judge. He declared with a mock seriousness, puffing out his chest and striking a pose. Jack chuckled, momentarily distracted by Ben's antics. You'll have to be careful not to eat the pies yourself, then. Ben waved him off, still grinning. Never fear, my friend. I have high standards for my desserts. A flicker of comfort washed over Jack. It reminded him that despite everything, they were a community, a family bound by shared joy and heartaches. But then, just as Jack began to relax, he spotted Mr. Thompson lingering nearby, watching them. The older man's face was unreadable, yet Jack sensed a quiet expectation behind his well-practiced smile. Hey, let us get back to the booth setup, Jack suggested quickly to Sarah and Ben, needing to escape the weight of Thompson's gaze. We need to make sure everything's running smoothly. As they busied themselves, Jack's mind raced with thoughts of what had just happened. Could the encounter with Thompson open doors to conversations long overdue? Or would it unleash a torrent of resentment that would fracture their fragile progress? Jack, are you sure you're all right? Sarah's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts. You've gone quiet. I want everything to go perfectly. We worked hard for this fair, he said, gesturing at the bustling community around them, the laughter serving as a stark reminder of what was at stake. Sarah nodded, her gaze sympathetic yet firm. I get that. But we also have to be open to what's happening. If we can confront our past, it gives hope for a brighter future. Ben chimed in, sensing the shift in mood. Hey, we've got great food, music, and our friends all around. Let us enjoy that. Life is too short to keep holding on to old ghosts, right? Jack took a deep breath, the warmth of his friends steadying him. They were right. It wouldn't be easy, but the fair was a symbol of their rebirth, of resilience. As he glanced back at Thompson, who stood watching with a subtle, almost contemplative expression, Jack felt something inside him shift. Perhaps it was a choice he wanted to make, one of courage, whether it ended in confrontation or closure. Okay, he finally said, determination spilling into his voice. Let us give it a go. We can't let fear dictate our path any longer. That's the spirit. Sarah smiled. But even as they resolved to face the challenges head-on, Jack's heart echoed a haunting question: were they truly ready to turn back to the shadows and confront the truth, or would the darkness swallow them whole? A ripple of uncertainty lingered in the air as they set their sights on the growing crowd. The moment of reckoning loomed, just a breath away. Would they discover the strength to face their past or retreat back into the safety of their busy fair, leaving unresolved pain festering beneath the surface? The sun dipped below the horizon, setting the sky ablaze with colors that mirrored the emotions swirling inside Jack's heart. The fair had become a tapestry woven with laughter, camaraderie, and a hint of trepidation as the community gathered together. Each booth buzzed with energy, drawing crowds, but Jack's attention remained fixed on the looming presence of Mr. Thompson. Are we ready for this? He muttered, glancing at Ben and Sarah, both busy organizing the next round of activities. A knot of apprehension twisted in his stomach, but he felt a strange resolve rising within him, a voice urging him to step into the chaos. As the last rays of sunlight flickered out, Jack took a deep breath, channeling the courage he'd so desperately borrowed from Stoic philosophy. It was time to confront the shadows of their past. Let us do it, Jack said, the words escaping as a whisper but blossoming into a vibrant determination. Focus on the now, Sarah encouraged, her eyes filled with understanding as she set down a colorful sign. We need to embrace not just the fair but the healing we're all seeking. Jack nodded, more convinced than ever, and they began walking through the thrumming crowd. Voices danced around them, excited chatter, bursts of laughter, the appeal of a sweet treat being shared between friends. Jack! A familiar voice shouted. It was Mrs. Dawson, covered in flour from her freshly baked goods. You should come try these pies. They're a hit. Jack felt a smile creep onto his face, recalling how Mrs. Dawson's sweet treats had always been a staple of their childhood. Count me in, Mrs. Dawson. Jack replied, feeling the tightness in his chest loosen. Moments like these brought back the joy of community, the connections that mattered. As they meandered, Jack noticed Ben deep in conversation with a few locals. He acted like he belonged right there, but Jack couldn't help feeling irritation simmer at the thought of Ben's earlier skepticism. Instead of dwelling, Jack decided to approach him, and when he did, the energy charged around them felt electric. Hey! You should ve seen the line for those pies, Ben chuckled, his demeanor optimistic as he returned to Jack's side. I think this is more than just about pies, Jack said, searching Ben's face for how he truly felt. It's about us and the choices we make. Ben's laughter faded slightly as he felt the weight of Jack's seriousness. You're right. I know it's about more than just business now. It's about connecting. Healing. His gaze drifted to Sarah, who was speaking to a few children, their laughter vibrant and carefree. That's our heart, Jack remarked, a swell of pride filling him as they shared a moment of connection. Just then, a low murmur swept through the crowd, and as Jack turned, he saw Mr. Thompson standing behind them, arms crossed, the light of the fair refracting over him in a strangely vibrant way. Good to see you, he said, the smile in his voice tinged with something else, a mix of nostalgia and wariness. You've done well to bring everyone together. The tension in the air thickened, and Jack felt a wave of anger rise. What's your role here, Mr. Thompson? Are you here to help, or are you just lurking? Mr. Thompson's expression shifted, caught off guard by Jack's boldness. I'm here just as a spectator, but I'll admit, I've come to see what you're doing, just like everyone else. Don't you think that after all these years, your shadow looms large enough? Ben cut in, defensively. We spent too long under it. Jack's heart raced as he witnessed Thompson's posture shift. He wasn't just an observer, he had his battle scars too. Perhaps you're right. My past choices were harsh. But sometimes, I see the potential in growth. Today feels like a chance to connect rather than divide, Thompson replied, almost gently. Jack recognized a flicker of vulnerability in the older man's eyes. This fair, it's a step towards healing for all of us, Jack pressed, his voice gaining strength. A reminder that we can choose to create a different narrative. Silence draped around them momentarily. The whirl of fair. Excitement faded into a hush, and all eyes shifted toward Jack. This place, these memories, these bonds, we need to embrace them. We've broken apart because we lost sight of what truly matters. Can we find a way to bridge those differences? Jack's voice rang out earnest and unwavering. He felt his heart ignite with hope and purpose, a voice rising above old resentments. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, standing face to face with Mr. Thompson. It's time to ask. You're either part of the story we're shaping, or you're not. But let us not ignore the past any longer if we want a brighter future. Maybe I've kept a distance out of fear, Mr. Thompson said quietly, looking almost small. But I'm willing to listen. Everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. A collective sigh rustled through the crowd, and as Jack caught Sarah and Ben's eyes, a sense of unity reignited among them. Can we all agree to be part of this? Jack asked, glancing at the gathering community, who'd been drawn into their exchange. Can we reclaim our shared stories and craft them anew? Yes. Came a chorus of echoing voices, almost like an anthem, from behind them. Children began a clapping rhythm, as if to push this moment forward. A woman stepped out from the crowd, her eyes shining brightly. This fair is ours because we built it together. Embracing the past is how we honor those who came before us. Jack's heart swelled. Let us keep telling our stories, sharing, healing, and growing together. Sarah added, their shared vision taking root in that very moment. Rays of light broke through the clouds overhead as laughter resumed and life once more surged through the fair. Each booth, each laughing child, became a testament to their efforts, a vibrant tapestry woven together once again. The evening stretched long, filled with joy and renewed connections as old wounds began to mend. The flickering lights overhead reminded Jack that every spark of hope ignited the path toward healing. As they gathered under the glow of the fairground lights, Jack felt his family's hold tightening around him, inching them closer together. "Thank you," Jack whispered to Sarah and Ben, a soft smile breaking over his lips. "For what?" Ben asked, surprised. "For believing in something bigger than ourselves," Jack replied, giving them a gentle nudge. "We're all stronger together." In that moment, enveloped by the laughter of community and the shimmering lights, a familiar warmth coiled around Jack. The shadows of the past would always exist, but they no longer defined his family, they merely illuminated the path ahead. Together, they would move forward, forging a new legacy built on love, resilience, and unwavering human connection. This was just the beginning, and just like that, in the radiant glow of transformed lives and rekindled relationships, Jack embraced the realization that true strength lay in unity, or a community could thrive under the beauty of shared dreams. Now it was time to share this journey. Remember, dear friends, if you felt even a flicker of this journey within your hearts, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to hit that bell for all notifications. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this uplifting conclusion. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can create a community that thrives.